Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Monday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. I am your host, Chat Daddy. I hope you guys all had a wonderful Christmas holiday and happy third day of Kwanzaa. Yes, today is the third day of Kwanzaa. I am dressed for the occasion. Kwanzaa is an African American celebration of culture, our history, our class. We'll talk about that tonight with our guest co-host. Our guest co-host is back this evening because tonight we're going to talk about 2020, the year of many changes and a lot of suffering has gone on this year. And to join me in tonight's show is my good friend, Mr. Kevin Ross, music executive, the creative director of Two Guard Media Group. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Kevin back to the show. What up, sir? How are you?
What's going on? How is everybody this evening? Can you hear me?
I can hear you well, sir. How are you? Good evening. How's everything?
Man, look, I'm all excited. I got me a Chat Daddy studio now and got my little tripod and my little teleprompter and my little setup over here. So I'm all good.
Very nice. You need to get you a ring light so you're not so dark. But otherwise, you're doing a great job.
Wait a minute. Hold on, brother.
You got it?
Hold on, brother.
Oh, very good. All right.
Baby, whenever we need it.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. Very, very good. Well, how you doing this evening, Kevin? How was your holiday?
Everything's good, man. Everything is good. I think I've had conversations with people who, obviously this was going to be different for all of us in terms of holidays and everything from the type of way that we usually celebrate to our mood, our particular feelings. I think we've had to govern a lot this year. I'm no different. Fortunately, as I like to say a lot, my mother is a therapist and a psychologist, so I have the good fortune of having somebody I can lean on whenever things get a little tough. But other than that, man, everything was great. I was very low key on Christmas. Tried to catch up. I did watch Wonder Woman. I'm a big comic person, so I checked out Wonder Woman and had a little stuff to eat. But other than that, man, didn't do much.
Wonder Woman actually premiered to rave reviews. Some were good, others were not as good. So I shouldn't necessarily say rave reviews as much as I should say mixed reviews about Wonder Woman 1984. Real quick, not to give away the movie, but what did you think?
For me, I actually enjoyed it, Art, and I'll tell you why. Because and you and I, at some point, we're going to do another show together. You and I discussed this about film and movies and things of that nature. I think we're in a period now in our culture where everything is under a microscope. Everything is analyzed now. Every little thing that you say, every little thing that you do, everybody has an opinion, and everybody is able to project that opinion now on social media, where you used to not really have that opportunity. And so for me, I went in without expectations. I wasn't initially a fan of the movie taking place in 1984, but when I saw the movie and I understand, first thing to understand is that this is only supposed to be a 3-movie a trilogy. So there's not going to be a Wonder Woman 9 or 10. So you're moving her from the first movie, which was World War I, into 1984, and then hopefully the third movie brings her to the future. So brings her to our current time. So for me, I didn't go in with expectations. I went in wanting to see what the director, Patty Jenkins, who I'm a fan of, wanted to see what she was going to do. And I love Gal Gadot. I'm a big fan of hers. I think that she brings just enough of the television Wonder Woman to this role, but maturing it a little bit. She's a great actress. She's very athletic. So I wanted to see what they were able to do. I think there were some parts of the plot that could have been better executed. And then I think it was trying to balance itself between being a mature film and a film for the family. So you had some things that kind of leaned in that direction. I loved both villains. I just thought that they could have been probably done in a different way. I think Maxwell Lord, without putting any spoilers out there, was a bit over the top. And I the cheetah kind of came off as an extra from Cats, just a little bit,
That's funny.
just a little bit. Just if we'd have got a little more ferocious, if we'd have got a little more sinister. But other than that, I thought Kristen Big did a great job. Pedro Pascal was great in the movie, and then. Chris Pine, of course, he's an accomplished actor as well. So I have to be honest, I enjoyed it.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, with that being said, we're going to continue to move on into our Monday night show. Kevin, as I was waiting on you to sign on, I was telling everyone today is the third day of Kwanzaa.
Right.
Kwanzaa is celebrated from December 26th to January 1st. And so, have you done anything to celebrate Kwanzaa so far, Kevin?
I think for me, of the principles that are a part of Kwanzaa, I think the best thing that we can do to celebrate Kwanzaa is to try to really engage in those principles, from knowledge to giving to
Mm-hmm.
educating. I think that's the best way, because one of the things that I've known and read about Kwanzaa and have come to understand is that it is not a religious holiday. It is actually a holiday of action. It's
Right.
actually something that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that when we talk about the principles, I think just really trying to engage in those principles of selflessness, education, respect. Those are the things that we can do to celebrate it the best. And so I'm trying to do those things myself,
Very good. I agree with you 100%. As I said before, ladies and gentlemen, today is day 3 of Kwanzaa. And on day 3 of Kwanzaa, we celebrate Ujima, which is collective works and responsibility. And that's Ujima, and it means to collective work and responsibility. So don't forget, we will be celebrating Kwanzaa until January 1st. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Kevin, tonight you and I are going to talk about a lot of things that have gone on in 2020. In 2019, around this time, we were all talking about we were going to have crystal clear vision in 2020, what the world would be offering us, how we were all looking forward to pressing the reset button, doing things differently.
Right.
Unfortunately, 2020 saw tremendous change and suffering, not only because of the pandemic, but we had a lot of racial injustice take place, as well as climate change and disasters that happened all over the world. And so we'll talk about that tonight, from the death of Kobe Bryant, the coronavirus, social justice, wildfires, and climate change. So we have a lot, and entertainment news that we need to talk about as well, too, because it's been quite a year.
Right. Absolutely. And I think too, lest we forget, we have to take a look at the political climate, and we have to take a look at what has been shown to us, and kind of a lot of the revelations that I think we now have about the political system in our country as well,
Right.
and then how that needs to be addressed, and how that needs to be improved, and in conjunction with those other things that you mentioned.
I agree 100%. All right. So, Kevin, I think we need to do the daily COVID-19 update numbers, and then we can go on with our show as planned.
All
For
right.
those of you all, please remember we are still in the midst of a global pandemic. Today, Illinois public health officials announced 4,453 new confirmed or probable cases of COVID-19. Unfortunately, we had 109 additional fatalities in the last 24 hours. This brings the total number of infections in the state of Illinois to 942,362. And our statewide death total has now reached over 16,000. Our current statewide death total from COVID-19 is 16,074, and that's been since the beginning of this pandemic.
Wow.
And that's something else.
Man, we I think that one of the things that we probably have to look at here, and I think for comparison's sake, we have to look at the 1918
Right,
pandemic. I think that's probably the closest thing we have in this country, in terms of being able to compare and contrast.
right.
is that there is another side of this that we will come out on, and it
Hmm.
seems really difficult right now. I was discussing this with some people pretty much all this week, including yourself, that right now it's pretty tough to see the light, to see the other side. We don't seem to really have a unified effort in terms of how we're going to deal with this, how we deal with it as a nation, where
Yes.
some countries are going into their second wave or even their third and possibly final wave now with the onset of vaccines. We seem to still be stumbling in the first wave, and I think that adds to people's depression and adds to people's consternation regarding this. But at the end of the day, there will be another side. We'll come out the other side. In 1918, if you remember, the Roaring Twenties came right after 1918 because everybody couldn't wait to get out and hang out and dress up and go places. So we
Yes.
will have a Roaring 20s, 2021s, and 22s at
I,
some point.
I really do think, though, Kevin, it'll be more like latter 21, early
Sure,
22
sure. That's
before
why.
we're able to even do things the way we want to do and in at the level in which we're used to, concerts and big
Right.
shows and things like that. Right.
Right. And that we have the level of comfort at that point, because I think more than the actual technical aspects of it, it's more of the psychological elements that really have affected us all, in the emotional elements. And I think in order to go quote unquote return to some semblance of normalcy in that regard, we would be looking at what I like to call a return to the future, which is to look backwards where
Oh,
we were, but to
are
look
you there?
forward and learn
Hello?
from, yeah, and to learn from
Hello,
where
hello,
we are.
hello. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it just went dead. That's all. But go ahead.
Oh, can you hear? But are we
I
still
heard
good?
we didn't I hear you now, but we didn't hear anything. We heard a return to, and that was it.
Oh, okay. So you caught the end of it. I said return to the future, which means we take a look at where we came from. We've had experience with like this before. Something that's interesting to note is the very same reason that we get a flu shot every year is because any flu, influenza, any flu virus or any germ, there's a natural there's a natural development of it, and it changes every year. So every year you
Right.
still need to get a flu vaccine. So we're going to have probably the same situation here
Yes,
with COVID once we've gotten a hold of it. So it will be just like anything else, and
that is
we'll
true.
learn how to deal with it.
Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, millions of Americans were on pins and needles this weekend. As you all know, we were waiting on some type of federal spending package, the annual federal spending package, a relief package for those that are unemployed, those that have housing issues, small businesses, the stimulus check. And our current president, drug his feet on this situation, but he finally signed it. And now they're pushing for us to get the $2,000 a person in stimulus money. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I thought it was interesting that he went golfing this weekend. Our vice president went and did something else while lines at food pantries were miles and miles long.
Mhm.
There are more and more stories of people now stealing to be able to eat and stay alive
Mhm.
and survive. And so I don't know what DC is not to me serving the people the way they should, or just current administration. I think because it's the end, he wants to be a butthole about everything.
Well, it's that, but art. It's something that I always say. Nothing ever happens suddenly.
Right.
We simply realize things suddenly. That's the general consensus that I've come up with, is that our government for quite some time, and actually this nation, the United States of America, and when you look at that. Had some great ideals in the beginning. Had some great ideals with the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and these things, but it has moved from serving the people It has
Hmm.
moved from the welfare of the people, and in fact has gone in an opposite direction and tried to scare people using words like socialism and liberalism, which all those things really are. Those principles really say that everybody shares in the wealth of the country.
Right.
Everybody shares in and the sharing of the wealth is not what this is about. That is the opposite of capitalism, and
Yes.
capitalism is what the country is based on. So when you hear these things, we've gone away from the will of the people. We've actually been away from the will of some of us people for a while, and now as a whole, as a nation, we're seeing it now. I like to tell people that the whole country now is seeing what Black people have seen for hundreds of years. When you're lied to, when the laws are changed, when the laws don't apply to you, they only apply to some. When
That's right.
the some people get the most, when one set of people get the most, another set of people are marginalized. Now the entire country is having an opportunity to experience that, unfortunately.
Yes, yes, because people who were doing well and have lost their jobs. I was talking to another friend of mine who's in the entertainment industry, and he says his entire career, this is the worst it's ever been as far as no gigs, no opportunities,
Oh yeah.
not being able to hone his craft the way he really wants to. And so
Mhm.
he now is thinking about ways of reinventing himself because
Right.
of this pandemic. And that's what we've been talking about during the entire time of this pandemic, is that everyone has got to learn the new pivot, the new push, how
Right.
to change things around. So, and
Right.
it is what it is.
And we have to also remember too that during the Great Depression of the 20s, during this in this country, there were over 50 to 100 new businesses were born during that, and they were born out of necessity. They were born out of ingenuity. Just some of the businesses that saw a boom were local. The return to local grocers and local grocery stores in neighborhoods.
Community, right?
There
Community,
were a ton of movies were made at this time when people didn't really have the opportunities that they had before to entertain themselves. So they would go to the movies for a nickel. These movies were made very inexpensively, and they people packed the theaters in order to go to these things. So there were a number
right?
of businesses that were founded during the Great Depression, and we just have to find a way to reinvent ourselves so we can learn to move forward. And actually, let's just be honest that that's what life is about. Life is about progression. It's about
Yes.
change, and it's about and there were a lot of things that needed to change. I think the
Mhm.
entertainment industry needed to have a wake up call. I've been a part of it for over 30 years, but I think we've had to look at things like how we compensate performers. We have to look at the amounts of money that are spent in a lot of different areas, and where the artist generally ends up not being paid as much as they're worth or paid for their work. Now we're looking at streaming revenues. Now we're looking at streaming opportunities. These are all things that needed some attention, and so now they're going to get it.
Uh-oh, we lost you
I
again.
don't know why it keeps losing me. You got me?
Oh, that are you on a wired system or no?
Yeah. I'm plugged
Oh,
into
okay,
internet.
okay. I
I'm
don't
on
know.
my.
It just may be your internet, but you fading in and out. But it's good. Everything you're saying is good. So
Okay.
yes. All right. So to come back to what you were saying, how much things are going to change and have changed and will change. And you're right about the entertainment industry. It's definitely going to change as we know it.
hmm and necessarily so. At the end of the day, I think whenever we find ourselves getting comfortable, that's a time for examination. Because where there's comfort, there's no growth. Where
Mhm.
there's comfort, there's no increasing of knowledge. Where there is comfort, there is no opportunity to improve. So I think that we are all uncomfortable right now, but with discomfort, those things turn into growth. They turn into change. and they turn into awareness. And I'm just thinking that we're really now becoming very aware of a lot of the weaknesses and improprieties that we've had as a culture. I think that we've just got real comfortable, and we had sports, and we had concerts, and we had all kinds of distractions. And now we're really being forced to look at those things as well, and their impact on our culture.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, over the weekend, we had another New York Karen situation to happen. This time, this happened at the Arlo Hotel, which is in the Soho area of New York City, very upscale area, which I love Soho. Famed musician, well known jazz trumpeter, Mr. Keon Harold, and his 14-year-old son were both in the lobby of the hotel when a white female came in, had misplaced her phone, and thought that uh, Harold's son had her phone and was
Hmm.
demanding the phone back from the young man. When the father decides to videotape and question her on why would his son have her phone, why did she even think that, all of that. And of course, the hotel manager came to the white woman's defense and
Sure.
and ended up, well, let's see, give us the phone, this, that, and other. He pulling out a laptop to do find my phone, and come to find out that the woman's phone was actually left in an Uber.
Right.
Was left in an
Exactly.
Uber. So here is another incidence of a black man being accused of doing something wrong, minding my own business, as we always say, and end up in
Hmm.
the middle of some mess. And thank God the dad was smart enough to videotape the incident that happened. And keep in mind, Mr. Harrell has performed with artists like Snoop Dogg, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Rihanna, and Eminem. He lives in Queens, but he decided to take his son and go spend a few days in a luxury hotel so that he would get some musical inspiration. And then
Hmm.
here come Karen in the hotel cutting up and acting a fool. And now
Right.
they don't want to reveal who Karen is in this situation. But we saw enough of her behavior.
Yeah. I think it's worth noting that this is not new. It's not unusual. But again, as I said before, I think we need to get into an analysis, and I think we need to start really taking a look at the causality
Right.
of these types of things. I think when we talk about racial bias and discrimination, at some point we really have to start having active conversations about how we got here, and why we're still here. More importantly, and I think one of the biggest problems with racism and discrimination is that it's taught and it's programmed. And the mainstream culture has been programmed to fear the African American male. It is that simple. There's no, I'm not gonna cut around it. I'm not gonna spoon feed you. I'm not gonna try to I'm gonna tell it like it is. And that's that. There has been a programming that says that you are to fear African Americans as a group and fear the African American male specifically. We saw that with the first Karen.
Right.
She referenced specifically an African American male while she was on the phone. And this is all done through reinforcement of stereotypes, alteration of laws, which were originally made to govern all of us, and yet they are altered in order to suit whatever purposes may be at hand at the moment. And we need to address those type of things, because this is now, it's not a pearl clutcher, and it's not, oh my goodness, this is so shocking. This is done with regularity at this point, and if we're going to make changes, we have to address why it's still happening. We have to address the reasons and the causality.
Well, Kevin, first of all, I was thrown when I saw that heifer had on Birkenstocks and no socks. And I kept saying, isn't this New York City? Isn't this like December 26th? Is the weather in New York? New York just had a snowstorm, if I'm not mistaken. So I was trying to figure out why the hell did Karen have on Birkenstocks with no socks to begin with? And then, I mean, you gonna go off on a young man, and as the father said, you act like Apple made one damn iPhone like your iPhone. You know what I'm saying? That's why, you know what I'm telling you, Kevin? I keep something on the back of my phone so that I'm able to identify and know my phone, if nothing else. And that's
Sure.
one of the part reasons, because people get so panicky and so just loopy when they misplace their phones. Now, I know I've been in that situation. I know many people have been in that situation, but just crazy that you would walk in and blame somebody of having your phone. And again, these people are guests of this luxury high-end hotel.
What's interesting is that I've actually left my phone in an Uber before. And the first thing I didn't think, at first I didn't realize I had done it, but the first thing I didn't think was that somebody had taken it. That's not the first thing. That's not the first conclusion I drew. I was rational about recalling what had happened. And I said, I remember making a call while I was in the Uber. So obviously I had the phone up until the point that I disembarked from the car and came into the house. So I looked in the house first, and then I had to ascertain that it had to be in the Uber. And sure enough, the driver dropped it off to me the next day.
Wow.
But again, that's what happens. I wasn't programmed to think that someone stole the phone from me. When you are programmed, the first thing you think is that something was taken from you. And somehow your rights have been violated somehow. And I think, when we speak about this young lady, or we speak about Central Park Karen, or we talk about Brad in Nashville, Brad and his wife in Nashville with their guns up on the porch, this is all about programming. This is all about cultural programming. It's all about control. It's all about fear. And I think that's something that we're going to be dealing with for a while moving forward, is fear and this misrepresentation. And as far as the Birkenstocks and the socks, I'm from California, so I came to the conclusion a long time ago that, hey, if I felt like it was my country, I'll wear whatever I want to. I'm going to go out with a t-shirt on in the wintertime. I'm going to do whatever. And that's probably what the case is here. I've never understood it. When I came to Chicago, I would see Brad and Steven and those guys walking downtown with t-shirts on, and it's 20 degrees. So I don't understand.
All I know is when I first saw the news story and I looked and I said, wait a minute, this is in New York City. This is December 26th. The East Coast just had a major snowstorm, and here this heifer is standing here with Birkenstocks and no socks on. So I said, okay, we got a nutty Karen on our hands right here. And then
only you would
look, it's other people chiming in like, right, like, are you kidding me?
You would see the shoes.
It would be so different if this was in Miami and
Right.
Houston, Dallas, anywhere like that. But I'm thinking to myself, where the hell is heifer going in New York, December 26th, after a major snowstorm, and she walking around with Birkenstocks and no socks on? Maybe it's a California thing. She might be one of your white relatives. I don't know.
Might be one of my former neighbors. It could be, but we also have to consider that maybe emotionally or mentally there could be something wrong with her. There could have been something when you exhibit that type of paranoia, when you exhibit that type of extreme behavior. We have to consider that perhaps there may be something wrong, and they can't right now. They haven't identified her, or at least the hotel has refused to identify her,
right?
And they can't find her because I believe they're looking to press charges at this point.
Wait a minute, I'm not the only guest, Kevin. Wait a minute, it's a lot of people said they noticed that too. That right, Vanessa, cousin, she said I did. I mean,
she noticed it.
Right, that was the first thing that I noticed. Like, wait a minute, this is in New York City. This is the 26th, and she running around in some damn sandals. So that showed privilege right there, or lunacy, or I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe some things going on up here too. I mean, you got to consider. You have to consider all options at this point.
Cause, bro, I love walking around with no socks on and flip flops and sandals, just like anybody else. I want that to be the future of my life, but
Right.
not when I'm going to New York City in the wintertime. It's
When
just
I'm
not
living
gonna
in
happen.
when I'm living in a place where that's
Yeah,
conducive to my
yeah,
lifestyle, that's a
that's
whole
right.
different.
That's right. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's continue on with today's top news stories. Shout out to Beyonce, Queen B. Beyonce's Bay Good charity will now give away $5,000 grants to families in danger of losing their homes due to the coronavirus pandemic. As a lot
Wow.
of people know, the housing situation is a mess right now. Really the eviction thing expired the other night. The
Right.
saying that people could not get evicted. So
Right.
Beyonce has stepped up and now she will be awarding families up to $5,000 to be able to help them to stay in their homes and not lose, their property and things like that, or pay their rent or whatever the case may be. So shout
Wow.
out to Beyonce, Queen B, for that beautiful gesture. And I need to find out if I know any recipients of it. But yes, absolutely. All right. Very
Yep.
good on that. Hmm. All
That
right.
that's that's what you call applying the principles of Kwanzaa right there.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you, Beyonce. We appreciate you. Another thing that we need to look at is our friend Mr. Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch in California has been sold. As you guys all know, Michael Jackson lived in this wonderful, sprawling estate. But because of the child molestation allegations against the music legend, he had to end up leaving Never Land. And back in 2015, the initial price for the property was $100 million. It was
Right.
relisted in 2017 and it went for 67 million in 2016. And it was said that billionaire investor Ron Burkle has purchased the property for $22 million.
Hmm.
And he is part owner of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he is a former friend or a friend of Jackson's. The Neverland property is 2,700 acres, and oh, here's the other piece. It's 12,500 square foot main residency and a 3,700 square foot pool house, guest house type of situation. So have
Right.
you ever had a chance to go to Neverland or Neverland Ranch?
I have not had the opportunity to do so. I think the closest I got to Mike, especially in his heyday, I went to a party at Quincy Jones' house. He didn't show for this party, but that was about the closest opportunity that I would have had. And I just think there was always something sinister about Bubbles. I don't think I wanted to go because there was something sinister about that monkey. I
Why
just
you
I
why you picking on Bubbles?
I
Why?
felt there was something sinister about that monkey. The monkey just didn't seem. The monkey seemed too complacent for a monkey, and so I just don't. I just didn't. I don't. I didn't want to get involved with none of that. So I just said, hey, I'll just keep listening to Off the Wall and Thriller and call it a day.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, Neverland Ranch has been sold. So everybody, that's the deal on that. All right,
Yeah.
Kevin, what you got in news and hot topics before we go into this year of uncertainty, disaster, and change?
Uncertainty, disaster, and change sounds like a movie.
It is.
Um, this has actually been like a movie.
Really.
Um, I think for me, the first thing I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to first acknowledge all of the victims of COVID-19. We're now up over 300,000 total. An average of one person every 10 minutes now is dying from this virus. And so, what I really wanted to do was make sure that we understand the seriousness of this. Every day I hear a new conspiracy theory. Today, one of my sisters, was talking about Bill Gates and his wife, and they knew. And I'm pretty much done with the conspiracy theories. We're in the middle of this. Let's deal with what we're in the middle of. Let's deal with the mitigation efforts. Let's continue to work towards trying to control the spread of this thing, and continue to look out for each other. I'm pretty much past all of the what ifs. We're past that at 330 something thousand dead people. I'm done with that.
Mhm.
That's the first thing I really wanted to make sure that I acknowledged the families of the people who have lost somebody to COVID. I think you and I were talking earlier.
Mhm.
You'll speak about him a little bit later. A beloved figure here in Chicago passed away from COVID. I mean, again, we're losing one person every 10 minutes. So we've got to be real about it. Current events, man. Nashville. You got a bomber loose in Nashville, and they say that he perished in the blast, and
Mhm.
now the FBI has kind of been able to facilitate their investigation. But what's more concerning to me is this, and I wish, I was trying to experiment with putting this picture up on the screen. I'll master that on our next show. When I first saw the story, I just happened to go to the Fox News feed. And when I went to the Fox News feed, there was a picture of this bald African American man with a tie and a suit jacket on, looked very nice, very
Looking like a church
looking like
deacon, looking like
man,
anybody,
like
father,
a
uncle, all of that.
businessman or
Yes,
anything.
yes,
And
yes,
the
yes.
the caption at the top was said, "Bomber has been identified." And so when you look at the picture, the first thing that you think is, "Oh man, that's the guy." Like, this
Right,
brother's dressed all nice. Oh, he was a black man. That whatever. First of all, unless you really have the forethought, you think he's not going to be driving no camper. We don't do campers. We do vans, right?
right,
Black
right,
people. We don't do campers,
right,
but we sure will do the hell out of a van
right.
with some nice wheels on it.
That's right.
So,
We a conversion van.
conversion
We'll do a
van. Uh,
Tahoe. We'll do an Escalade. But
uh,
a camper. We just
we
got
we
into
don't we don't do
campers because of the
we
COVID.
don't we
Right,
don't we don't do mass shootings, and we don't do campers. We just don't
right.
do things that. So the picture already was suspect. So the concern that I had is that Fox put this up, and there was no explanation of the fact that this was actually a news reporter in Nashville who was reporting on the story, and the actual bomber, and once they identified him, was Caucasian with long hair, and a totally different appearance. And I thought it was very irresponsible of Fox to do that. Now, when you asked me if it was a link, I said yeah. So sure enough, I went back to Fox to look for it, and they've taken it down now.
Oh, of
They don't
course.
have they
Of
don't have
course.
it up anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
Because again, you falsely accused or put up wrong information, which is really slanderous. And so you're saying the black man was actually a reporter in Memphis or in
right.
Nashville. Okay.
Nashville.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, and it would look like something that you would see if you were going to begin watching a video of a news report, and this person was reporting on it, except that there was nothing to click on. There was no video. It was just this picture with a caption, and it was very misleading. And I think that's where
Mm-hmm.
we get to a lot of these
Uh-oh.
places,
You
you
there?
know, where we are prejudging.
Kevin, you froze
Mhm.
again. You there?
Am I frozen?
Hello. Yeah, you back now. You said there was a
Am I
picture
here?
video. Go right ahead. Yes, you
Am I
okay.
here?
You good. You
Hold on,
good.
let me
You
do some
good.
break
You
dance. You good? Okay, all
You
right, say
good.
good. I'm
You
good.
good. You
Okay.
good. You good. It's working again.
Yeah, so I mean, it just kind of brought to mind of the misrepresentation and the manipulation of a lot of the media and things that are happening. And again, my condolences go out to those who no life was lost actually, but there was a
Yes.
great deal of
Yeah. Thank
damage
God.
done in a town that already had to deal with a tornado earlier this year, a
Which is
massive
true.
tornado that went through Nashville. So,
Hmm.
just both presidents are getting it on all sides.
Yes, absolutely. We do want to take a moment and acknowledge the fact that Chicago lost a tremendous sports giant today.
Right.
Vocational coach, Mr. Donnie Kirksey, a fixture in Chicago basketball for over 40 years, has passed away at the age of 57. He was currently at CVS High School as a dean as well as a coach there. You name it, DePaul, quite a few other places. I first found out about his death early this morning, and throughout the day, people have been posting all type of tributes and remembrance of Donnie. Just an all-around great guy, and we're just tremendously lost. But here's the number one thing that we need to take away from all of this. His death should really be a wake-up call to a lot of people who are disbelievers about COVID, protecting themselves and doing the right thing. From the reports that I've been reading, he only had been battling for 2 weeks and lost his life this morning to COVID-19. So we do have to be very careful and very diligent. I'm sorry. I was trying to say, never mind. Diligent. I've had a crazy day. Diligent
Village
about,
people.
well, I know, village, right. About taking care of ourselves and doing the right things. We do.
And that's what I was saying earlier is, the concerns over where it came from, who's responsible. We're past that at this point. We're in it,
Right.
and it's a reality. And I
Yeah.
think that that's the important thing is to acknowledge that we are in it. It's a reality, and the opportunities for us to control the elements of this that we can control, we should. You and I will get into vaccinations later, the
Yeah.
vaccine program later. But that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself.
Okay. All right. Well, real quick, we want to do some things to talk to you guys about things that you can start doing now. We're just days away from 2021. We've all been very excited about getting out of 2020. This has been a year like no other. And so some of the things that I want to encourage you guys to do in 2021 will help you to get into the right mindset. You don't have to make a New Year's resolution as much as if you just start taking a step towards making these things happen. One of the things that I want to remind you guys to do in 2021 is take a leap of faith. Whatever it is that you've been thinking about, you want to do, take that leap of faith and try and see if that leap of faith will work for you. And if you are a believer, that leap of faith should work. Don't you agree, Kevin?
Absolutely, 100%. I think that you don't grow without taking chances. That's
Mm-hmm.
just the bottom line. Whether it's in the area of vocation that you've
Right.
chosen, rather, whether it's in the area of your passion, whether it's in the area of a relationship, you
Right.
simply will not be able to experience the fullness of any of those things or success unless
Mm-hmm.
you take a leap of faith and trust that you are going in the right direction, whatever the results are.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important to do. And along those lines, I think for me, there are two things that I've really learned this year as we move into 2021. Let's not take things for granted that we've taken for granted before. Let's not take these our friends for granted and staying in contact with people. Uh, uh,
Mm-hmm.
really looking at our friendships, our relationships with family, things of that nature. Let's make sure that let's not take those things for granted, because as we see, once they're taken away from us, we see how important they really truly are, and I
Right.
think that's very important as well.
Okay, I want to continue down with the list. Next on my list is find happiness in simple things. Find happiness in simple things. Coloring books are really big again. Jigsaw puzzles are very popular. Anything that people are doing as far as crafting, DIY, DIY. Well,
Yeah,
I'm so
right.
messed up tonight. DIY, do it yourself. Oh,
That's all right,
all of those
brother.
things, huh?
That's all right. That's all right, brother. If
I told you, just one of
if you
them
want to
days.
take your hands off the wheel, I got you. I'm
I
over
got
here.
you. Just
I'm
one of
over here
those
with
days. But find happiness in the simplest things. Number
you.
three, actions matter more than words. And you kind of was just saying that before. actions are louder than words. So make sure
Absolutely.
everything you do, your actions count. The
Right.
next thing is difficult times reveal the truth. Always keep that in mind, that difficult times reveal the truth about a lot of different things. So keep
Mhm.
that close to you as well too. The next thing is follow your passion first. Whatever it is that you're most passionate about, follow that until you cannot follow it anymore. It's always good to follow your passion. The next thing is slow down. Take a minute to breathe, relax. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. You don't have to rush and hurry everything that you do. Slow down and find time to find your inner peace. The next thing on my list is there's always a silver lining in everything. I know sometimes that's hard to believe, but there's a silver lining in everything.
Absolutely. And I think too, along with that those are all great things on your list, by the way. Let's try to learn from this. Let's try to learn from our experience. Let's not just the actual virus itself and the technical aspects of how that came to be and how we're how we handle it as a country or as a nation and as a culture, but let's try to look at, I've taken a great look in the mirror. This has been great for me because I was able to take a look in the mirror and say, hey, how can I become a better person? How can I become a better Kevin? And
Mhm.
then in response to that, how can I help make others better? I think that I've been able to. I try to call 5 people a week just to check on them, and even if it's just to leave a message and say, hey, this is a wellness check.
Mhm.
Just wanted to see how you were doing. I think that I wasn't great at that before. I think I was always really busy, or I just kind of took it for granted. Oh, I'll see this person out at an event, or I'll see these people, etc. Or I get to talk to them on any of my followers on Facebook. But there's nothing like personally calling someone and letting them know that you're concerned about them. You and I have done that with each other. We check on each other. Hey, brother, how are you? You
Yep.
good? I
Yep.
think you can take 5 people a week and just do that. And I've learned this how important that can be for somebody. I've had I had my pastor Will Hall tell me, "Hey man, I'm glad you called. You called right on time." We generally don't think of our pastors as people who may need us to check on them too.
That's
You
true.
know,
Very true. Very true.
so, I'm hoping that we learn from our experience here. I'm hoping that a lot of the exclusions, or this person can't be part of this group, or you're we we don't want you to be part of this or that. I'm hoping we're able to take those things now and see how insignificant they really are in terms of the bigger picture, and
Okay.
learn from that and really change. That's what I
Yeah.
want to really see.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. With that being said, welcome to the Monday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. I am your host, Chat Daddy. My guest co-host tonight is the amazing Mr. Kevin Ross of Two Guard Media Group. He is the quintessential event planner, media man. He takes it from an idea and turns it into a full event, and that's what he does, and we appreciate him so very much for being here. Kevin has become a fan favorite on this show, and we're glad that he's here tonight. So tonight we're going to recap 2020, the year of just you name it. It has happened in 2020. We're all hoping for 2021 to be a much better year, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Before we go any further, we are a show about health and wellness, so we want to remind everyone to please make sure you wear your mask. Kevin, do you have your mask? See,
Of
I have
course,
my Kwanzaa mask. See there?
my joint is
See,
never too far from me. I,
see. Make
I
sure
got
you
a
have
couple
your
of
mask, huh?
I got a couple of cool ones now.
Oh, do
Um,
you?
I do. So now this is just a around the house mask. I mean, I've
So
been
that's around the
here,
house mask, huh?
that's around the
Just
house,
around the house mask. Okay,
and then I've got
like house shoes. Like
and then
these
I've
are
got
my
my
house shoes.
let's see if we can get in close. I'm a Marvel fan, so that's my Marvel
Oh,
comic,
nice, nice,
Marvel
nice.
comic, and then
Yeah.
like yourself, I had to get a little Kwanzaa
Oh,
dress
nice.
over here.
Okay. Very
Get that
good.
like that so we see what's happening.
This is my
So
Magic Mike mask. This is when I was in Magic Mike. I used this as a mask, and I used it,
and pause.
right
And
elsewhere. Yeah,
pause.
this is versatile. So this is my Magic Mike mask. Yes.
Make sure you
And-
wash it though if you're gonna
oh,
use it in
I
the
did, I
past.
did,
It
I
has
did, I
mold.
did. It was smelling. It
You
was
don't want it
smelling like
right.
dollar bills. It was smelling like dollar bills. I had to
Okay.
wash
All
it. I
right.
had to sanitize it. Yes, this is my Magic Mike mask, and
Okay.
then this is my other mask that says peace, love, and sanitize. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it says peace, love, and sanitize. And then I have all kind of holiday masks that I enjoy wearing as well too. It has become the popular new trend. Hey, Kevin, you know how I know masks are going to be around for a while?
How do you know that, sir?
Major designers are now selling masks. So
Yes, they
there are masks upwards of $150, $200. Some of your favorite designers are now actually making masks to match your outfits and go along with your very expensive couture outfits. So
Well,
yes.
you know what's funny? I'm not a logo guy, and I'm not into that thing. But if I do decide to, you can also go to the beauty supply and you can find a great Gucci mask. You can find a great. They got all of that stuff, man, for $5. I'm sorry, that's the guy that I am. Some people don't like it.
Those are called boots and
Feel free to
legs.
judge
Those are
me if
called
you
boots and
wish.
legs.
My social media is at KRaw Chicago on Instagram. If you want to talk about me, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to pay $200 for a mask. I'm going right up here to Mike's Beauty Supply. And Mike is an Asian guy, by the way. Imagine that. An Asian guy named is Mike, but it's Mike's Beauty Supply. And he's got the dope a Gucci mask that I said, you know what? I don't wear these labels, but if I want, I'm gonna get this mask, and it's only $5, folks. So,
And see, you
don't
need to be at a black-owned beauty supply place. So now,
you ain't
now
lying. I gotta find one. That's
they're,
about
they're, they're
that's
new.
about
We'll have to
that's
talk
about
about that
a
in
shamrock and
January.
a clover and a field of clover. But
Oh my
yeah,
God.
so I just thought I'd throw that out there.
All right. And we also want to remind everyone to make sure you sanitize, wash your hands. Soap and water is the most important thing that you can use to wash your hands. Wash your hands often. If you don't have soap and water, hand sanitizer works. All you have to do is take that hand sanitizer, put it in your hands, make sure you clean under your nails, clean everything really good. Make sure your hands dry. Social distance, at least 6 feet back, 6 feet each direction is most important. And if you're not feeling well, keep your ass at home. Keep your ass at home. It's not that serious that you be out anywhere. Stay in the
and
house
only
and
go
protect
places
yourself.
and only go places where there may be crowds if it's necessary, like a grocery store, things of that nature. Only go if you need things. Don't go just to be hanging out at Mariano's to try to pick up women or going in there just because you're tired of sitting there home. For me, this is my favorite. People say, "Oh, what are you doing?" Hey, man, I'm serious about my joint. I do alcohol, and then I do an aloe vera cocoa shea combination, and I put it on my hands as soon as I come in the house. I took I took an opportunity the other day to count how many times I touched something leaving the house, going to a store, and coming back.
Oh,
Over
absolutely.
20 times I made contact with a door, with food at the Hyde Park Produce up here. Just touching different things. You're an average of 15 to 20 types of contact, points of contact at any time. So
Right.
You have to wash your hands after every time you go out, any outing. Please make sure that when you come in, you're doing your disinfecting and doing what you need to do, because you take it for granted how many times you actually make contact when you
Yeah.
leave your home.
Yeah, very true. All right. Well, with that being said, you guys stay healthy, stay safe, do the right things, do what's necessary, do what's mandatory. All right. So now we're going to talk about the year in review. So we're going to start with the month of January. And the month of January, the top news story was the impeachment of President Donald Trump, which actually took place in December of
Right.
2019. But it was in January when all of the heat and drama, and to be honest with you, this would be the third Senate presidential impeachment trial in US history. And Trump,
Hmm.
who denied any wrongdoing and denounced the impeachment process as a sham, uh really he ended up losing the race, and we tried to put him out of office back then, but that dominated December and January of last year.
Right. And it's worth noting that he actually was impeached.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, he will have that on his record. He simply wasn't removed from office based on the Senate vote, which the Democrats were outnumbered, and so the Republicans elected to keep him in office despite that impeachment. So it's worth noting that he was actually impeached
Mhm.
um, as a result of those actions, but he did not leave office, quite obviously.
Mhm. And the end of December, the 1st of January is when we found out about a new viral illness that was being watched very closely. It was starting to spread around the world in 25 countries, mainly in Asia, killing at least 213 people and infecting nearly 10,000 people a month. And this virus was traced back to a meat market in Wuhan, China, that sold wild game, and it began to spread because it was the Lunar New Year approaching, and that meant hundreds of Chinese. Oh, actually, I take that back. Hundreds of millions of Chinese travelers were coming home or going abroad to celebrate Chinese New Year. And as you guys all know, Chinese New Year is at the end of January, early February. On January 30th, the World Health Organization, WHO, declared a global emergency because of the spread of coronavirus. So, really, roughly about January 30th is when we were all very much in a panic. We had already heard about this virus. We knew about the market over in China with the wild game and everything like that. And so that's when we first started hearing a lot about coronavirus, or now what we call COVID.
Right. Well, at that point, it was acknowledged internationally. Unfortunately, in this country, we were being told by our own government it was being downplayed. We
Right.
were told that it was one or two people coming in from China, that it was under control, that there was no need for concern or no need for panic. We didn't have anybody on the ground in China to confirm any of this. We didn't have a section of the government specifically to deal with it in place. So we really didn't have the opportunity to take it seriously in the very beginnings. And then, as we later found out through recordings of the president, he knew, but he felt no need to communicate that to the public. And so
Mhm.
it's been estimated that an additional 25 to 30,000 lives could have been saved had we been made aware early enough, and had we taken action early enough. So that's unfortunate in and of itself concerning that. And then from there, I think for me, I remember March. I posted a live video on March 13th. And that's when it became real for me, because I think I had just seen that the NBA was canceling the season. They were not putting it on hold, it was canceled. And when I saw that there was an astounding amount of money that was at stake, but they had elected to act in accordance with public as a public health emergency, that's when I knew it was real, and that's when I posted something on Facebook. So that was March 13th.
Okay, let me backtrack just a little bit because I'm trying to do this in order of when things actually happen. But you're absolutely right because there was something else that was canceled prior to, and I'll discuss that first. And with that being canceled, that did make a major difference.
Hmm.
The first major tragedy we had here in the United States happened January 26 when NBA legend Kobe Bryant died in a tragic helicopter crash near his Los Angeles home. Bryant's 13-year-old daughter, Gianna Marie, was on board, as well as I think it was 7 other victims. They were all killed in the crash. The death of Kobe, a 5-time NBA champion for the LA Lakers, and a double Olympian gold medalist, this really did shock the world about his death and what happened. And so that did happen on January 26th. And so that really kicked off the downward spiral of everything that started to happen in our
Hmm.
country. The president and his impeachment, that's one thing. Kobe's death, that really did rock the world.
Well, that Kobe's death and his passing was affected the culture and our culture as a whole, and is what really drives us. It's our lifestyle. It's such a big part of who we are. Culture is music. Culture is sports. It's fashion. It's all of those things. And he was such an iconic figure in that world of culture that we were emotionally stunned by the sudden loss. And there's again too, there's the suddenness of that loss. It's any loss is devastating and it's difficult, but it was the suddenness of it and the unexpected nature of it that I think really showed us a side of mortality that we don't always consider.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Kobe, Kobe's family, all of the other victims who were killed in that horrific crash. As we move on to February, February 8th is when the first American citizen died from the coronavirus in Wuhan, China. The death was announced hours after 2 flights were evacuated with U.S. citizens from Wuhan, the first American to die from the virus that has killed hundreds in China. So that's when we found out the first American had died. And that was after, they were there visiting and came back and ended up dying. On February 26th, a gunman went into the Molson Coors factory in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and 5 people ended up getting killed there. And so that was our first major shooting mass tragedy that we had this year was the
Yeah.
Molson Coors factory. And then in March 4th, Japan announced it will quarantine visitors from China and South Korea due to the coronavirus. A visit by China's president was delayed. And also, it was questioning whether or not the Olympics would take place in Japan. So technically, the Olympics was the first major event that was announced. Because keep in mind, we had the All-Star game here. Remember?
Right.
And the
Yeah.
All-Star game, right. So we didn't
That was
really
that
know.
was that was actually the middle of February,
Right,
and at that time, I don't think that there was the level of concern.
right.
It hadn't really been communicated to us at
Yeah.
that time, and so we had thousands of people here in town for the All Star Weekend.
We did. Major celebrities, everybody. Well, the IOC made an announcement on March 22nd that the Tokyo Games would be postponed, but they ended up announcing that the games would now be delayed a year and that they will take place the summer of 2021. But I'm not necessarily sure if the summer of 2021 will see those Olympics as well either.
Well, not in the form that we would be accustomed to. We may see some virtual events, a lot
Right.
like what we're seeing with football and basketball. We may see reduced crowds, things of that nature. There is a technology now that is being developed where In order to enter a stadium, there will be a barcode scanning on your phone,
Yes.
indicating, et cetera, that you've had a negative test. Travel is going to require that you have a negative test for up to 72 hours before boarding a plane. So there are going to be certain measures and certain technologies that are going to be employed in order to try to facilitate, again, a sense of normalcy, as you and I have spoken about earlier.
Yes. All right. Very good. Now we're in the middle of the pandemic. Anything you remember most from the pandemic before we go on to famous people we lost this year?
I think for me, the thing that I found the most remarkable were were again kind of a result of our collective consciousness in this country, where we couldn't seem to get on the same page about the pandemic. We couldn't get on the same
Wow.
page as to whether or not it was a legitimate threat, health concern. We couldn't get on the same page as it related to masks and mitigation. We couldn't get on the same page in terms of travel from state to state. Even we just couldn't get on the same page, and I was shocked at the lack of cohesion between us as peoples in this country, because I remember 9/11, and 9/11 was even different in the fact that yes, it happened in New York, but I think we were all affected by 9/11. I think we all understood that there had been a real tragedy, a real violation of our security, and
Mhm.
a real connection to the fact that any of us could have happened to any of us. We've all
Easy.
been up
Yeah.
in office buildings. We've all been on planes. And so
Right.
there was more unity at that time. I think Americans, I remember going to New York after it happened. I think the next month after it happened, I was working for Loud Records at the time. And I was working with Wu-Tang Clan and Mobb Deep and some other artists. So I ended up going to New York, and I remember how nice people were in New York. And New York is generally known for people being very hardcore and very, to the point and very, very real. But people were very nice and very humble after that, and everyone was treating each other with a deep amount of I think respect. Everyone came together to help with the Twin Towers tragedy, and I didn't see that with the pandemic. There was such a divided nation. There was so much division within politics, within families, within between states, between political parties. It was very divisive, and that's the one thing I'm going to remember is that we really saw how divided we were as a nation, and how we need to remedy that if we ever hope to move forward and grow as a republic.
Mhm.
Um, we have got to come to terms with this racial disparity. We have to come to terms with financial and commercial and capitalism and those disparities. The difference between rich and poor. We've got to get our healthcare together. We've got to get our education together. These are all things that were exposed because of this pandemic, and they are glaring weaknesses. These very same weaknesses
Mhm.
other and throughout history with other republics has led to the downfall of those republics, from the Roman Empire
That's
to
right. Yep.
Germany. You know what I'm saying? If we don't get
Yep.
those things together, we are on the precipice of having those same things happen here in this country.
Very true. All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to continue to move on. We're now going to talk about the people that we lost in 2020. Again, our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone who has lost a loved one to COVID-19. We had no idea this pandemic would wipe out so many people, so many of our loved ones. We're grieving now right here in the Chicagoland area. A famed basketball coach has passed away from it. COVID-19 needs to be taken seriously, you guys. Too many people have lost their lives this year. And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone. Well, here we started New Year's Day 2020 off with a death. Do you remember who that death was on New Year's Day of 2020, Kevin?
I don't. There's been so much death. I honestly have not been able to keep up. Literally, this probably, and I could be wrong, but this year alone, we have seen more deaths per capita
Yes.
of not just U.S. citizens, but of celebrities
Yes.
than I think I've ever experienced in my 57 years.
In my personal life, I've seen 15 deaths, and this would probably
Mhm.
be the highest amount of personal deaths that I've ever experienced in my life in one particular year.
Right.
And they were not all cases of COVID. Matter of fact, I don't think any of them were cases of COVID, other than people who I know in common who passed away. But personal people, it was 15 people of deaths. Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe, that that's what happened to them, or that they're gone, and that type of situation. So it's very overwhelming. But the first celebrity death that we heard about this year was the former partner to the late Bobby Christina Brown, Nick Gordon. He died from a reported drug overdose on New Year's Day at the age of 30. So we found out on New Year's Day that Nick Gordon had passed away. Do you remember that now?
Again, I do remember it, but it just pales in terms of the total count has been so extensive that I've almost actually I hate to say, I'm ashamed to say I almost forgot about that because
Hmm.
we've had so many tragic passings this
Right.
year. You know.
Well, other tragic passings include Glee star Naya Rivera in July. We lost her to a boating accident. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died at the age of 87. Our beloved Black Panther and superstar Mr. Chadwick Boseman died at the age of 43 this year. Of course, Jeopardy host Alex Trebek passed away at the age of 80. If we continue down the list, we lost country music trailblazer, Mr. Charlie Pride. He died December 12th at the age of 86 from COVID. He had just been honored at the Country Music Awards with a Lifetime Achievement. And so that was a loss. We also lost Congressman and civil rights icon, Mr. John Lewis, at the age of 80 in July after battling stage 4 pancreatic cancer. We lost another civil rights leader and field general for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Mr. C.T. Vivian died at the age of 95. We lost Natalie Denzell, famous actress known for her breakout role in the movie Baps, where she co-starred with Halle Berry. She died December 7th at the age of 53. Another one that really broke my heart, and this happened in February. It actually took place on February 22nd. Model, author, and restaurateur B. Smith passed away at the age of 70, and she had a wonderful restaurant, lifestyle. Matter of fact, B. Smith was probably the first that had the lifestyle television show way before all of these other lifestyle TV shows. We lost iconic singer Little Richard. He died at the age of 87 on May 9th. Famed singer Betty Wright, she died on May 10th. As you guys all know, Betty Wright is famous for her song Tonight is the Night, No Pain, No Gain, and Cleanup Woman. She died at 66 years old. Rapper Von King. He was shot to death outside of an Atlanta hookah bar on November 6th, and he was 26 years old. Uptown Records founder, known for being the person who discovered Sean Diddy Combs, and he died at 59 years old in May, Andre Harrell. And
I
then
actually worked for Andre. Andre
that's what
was
I
one,
thought you did. Yeah,
and that was a devastating loss for me. Andre is partially responsible for me being who I am today. He's partially responsible for my career. As a matter of fact, my time with him when he was the president of Motown Records was very valuable to me as being able to receive his tutelage and get his advice. At the time, he was also the producer or one of the producers of a very popular TV show at the time, New York Undercover, which
that's
was a
right.
groundbreaking crime drama. So I was just really had a great opportunity to work for him and to be around him. So that one was personal for me. I have a list of people actually that passed away that really just kind of struck me personally this year, of celebrities that were connected either to me directly, or my career, or were just part of my childhood, were part
Yes.
of my growing up. Just so many different ones that we lost.
Go right ahead. Let's talk about a few of the ones that you had as well.
Okay. I wouldn't say anything for that, but um, I think for me, we also lost a couple of people that were really part of me growing up. Diana Rigg was an English model, and it was a model and a dancer, and she was on a show called The Avengers with
Yes.
Patrick McNee, and that was one of my favorite shows as a kid growing up. She passed away. We lost Johnny Nash, who was a kind of a black folk singer from the
Yes,
70s.
yes, he was. I can
Yeah,
see
you know,
clearly now the
yeah,
rain is gone. Yes.
huge, huge song. That was one of the songs I listened to as a kid. We lost Bill Withers.
Yes.
Uh, Bill Withers was also part of my growing up, listening to my dad's 45 collection. Eddie Van Halen.
Yes.
In my rock and roll phase,
Yes.
Van Halen was one of the groups I listened to, and Eddie Van Halen was a great guitar player. We lost him. We lost Sean Connery.
I was going
Uh,
to bring that up.
yeah, we lost Sean Connery, who was probably the preeminent Bond, the first James Bond, and arguably people say the best James Bond, the best iteration of James Bond. We lost also most recently John Fletcher, who was known as Ecstasy from Houdini.
That's right.
Had
Yes.
an opportunity to meet them early in my career, and they were so nice and they were so humble. And I was actually working on something with them for City Winery here in Chicago earlier this year before COVID, and we were going to try to do a little Q&A, kind of inside the actor studio discussion about hip hop. And I was devastated to hear about his death. Tommy Tiny Lister,
That's
another
right.
great,
Yep.
from Friday, a strong man, but a very nice human being. Aside from the people that he played and the characters that he played, he was an accomplished actor in many movies, but just a great human being. And so we lost him. And just I mean, when I was preparing for the show, the list was so long I couldn't go the entire list. I mean, it was long.
I know. Well, I actually want to add somebody in there that was royalty as well too that we lost this year. Nelson and Winnie Mandela's daughter, Zinzi Mandela. She was the ambassador to Denmark, and she was the youngest daughter of Nelson and Winnie Mandela, and she died July 13th at the age of 59. So we want to
Right.
bring that up as well too. I mean, these deaths are just a lot,
And
and
actually, the other thing that's surprising, a good number of these deaths, people were not that old. They
no,
really were
no,
young. Chadwick Boseman was not that old. Um,
43.
yeah, I mean that's the shocking part of it. I think also the very fact that a lot of this was sudden. Chadwick Boseman hid the fact that he was sick. A lot
Yes,
of people didn't expect to pass away, and I always have to go back to the element of the suddenness of loss is very difficult. And during this time and during this pandemic, it's not just the loss, but it's the suddenness of it and the continuity. Every
yes,
day, we're looking at numbers, losing people, and then we're losing celebrities. I mean, my list, man, I could go on. David Lander, I used to watch Laverne and Shirley. He played Squiggy in Laverne and Shirley.
that's
He
right.
passed away. Ken Spears was one half of the team that created Scooby Doo, the Scooby Doo cartoon. William Blinn was a great TV producer who created Starsky and Hutch. I mean, we just
Mhm.
lost a lot of people. We lost a ton of
Yes.
people.
We did. Quickly, we want to remember NBA player Mr. Cliff Robinson.
Yep,
He was also on Survivor. He
yep,
died at age of 53 in August. We
Yep.
want to acknowledge the fact that rapper Pop Smoke, he was killed by a masked gunman in his Los Angeles home on February 19th. He was only 20 years old. So, I mean, we look at the number of people we lost to COVID, but we're just looking at other situations of the amount of people that we lost this year too. And it's just horrible,
You're looking at over 50 people,
Yeah.
and counting, celebrities, people of note, and that's a lot of people to lose.
Yeah, it is. It is. And not, again, looking at just the number of people that we lost to COVID-19. It's just
Mhm.
a lot to take in. It really has been a year of change and a year of, just suffering like you would not believe, as I said early on in the conversation. I want to talk a little bit about the wildfires that we had. As well as major disasters. We had everything from wildfires, flooding, to mass shootings, and again, these are things that typically happen, but look like they were more. There was more of them in 2021 than we've had in any other time. We even had so many hurricanes that we had to start using Greek letters to be able to identify these hurricanes. They had run out of names for hurricanes, and so that's why you had Alpha and Eta and Iota and things
Zeta
like that. Yes, huh?
and Zeta.
And Zeta. Yes, isn't that
Mhm.
something? Yes,
Mhm.
you guys forgive me. We're trying new lights in the studio, and I haven't did a light balance, and so that's why you keep getting these flashes of light. So I've
I
got to
was
do a
getting
light
ready to say,
balance.
I know you a star, but you flash a neon.
I know, and it's a new light in the studio, and we've got to do a light balance to make sure it's right and working right. But I
Mm.
know because it looks like somebody photographing me the whole time we sitting there. No,
It looks like
it,
you got
yeah,
paparazzi sitting in the
no,
kitchen.
no. This is just one of those Mondays. That's all it is. And I wanted
That's
to
okay,
do.
brother.
I
We gonna make
wanted
it.
to.
We gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
I think in reference to the wildfires and a lot of the disasters, one of the things that was overlooked and another point of real contention and something that we need to pay attention to is global warming and the fact that our weather has changed. Our weather patterns are changing. Our wildfires are directly related to the lack of water, droughts. This planet, it was not designed, or when it was created, it is not capable of eternal sustenance, meaning we were not going to be able to regenerate a lot of the natural resources that we have, and we need to come to that realization and start utilizing science and accepting science. One of the things that shocked me this year was the rejection of science. It was the rejection of medical science. It was the rejection of geological science. It was the rejection of uh, um, the global warming and the global climate and our withdrawing from a global initiative when science has shown us that our environment is being directly affected by certain things that we need to deal with. And the amazing thing about this country is we have had the largest number of Nobel Prize winners in medicine and science of
Mhm.
any country in the world, and yet we have rejected science this year. We have rejected real facts that have proven themselves that are going to be necessary for our survival. Extending our survival in this planet on this planet. And I was really surprised by that and very disappointed. I think we used to um, be a lot more receptive and a lot more open, and we used to be driven by science and facts. And this year, we moved away from science and facts and the truth like I've never seen.
Well, we had Dr. James Thompson on last Tuesday night, and he had received the vaccine that day, and he was on with us that night. He was super informative, told us everything. Dr. Janet Seabrook, she always gives us great information. But Kevin, it still seems to me, as you said, Science, we're not believing in it. Medicine, we're not believing. There are still a lot of skeptics out here. And even though a lot of our politicians and big name people are stepping up to get the vaccination, what do you think, and how soon do you think it'll be before all of America will roll up their sleeves and get that vaccination?
Well, first of all, we'll probably never see all of America do it. That's just the numbers that we've seen. The division, again, it goes to the division, a combination of the division that we've seen within the country, the division that we've seen within families, the division that we've seen within political parties. We're not going to ever have a real, a total, a complete combination of science and medicine coming together and people acknowledging that. We still have people that question flu vaccines. So
Yeah.
in order to get to the number that we need to get to, we need to get 75 to 80% people need to be vaccinated in order to start to push a herd immunity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's going to be tough to get to that because you've got to remember how many people voted for Donald Trump and how many people didn't vote. We had 145 million people that decided not to vote. We had 73 million people that voted for Donald Trump. We only have 330 million people in the country.
Right.
So there's this
So what
real
does that say to you?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the real division that says that we're probably not going to get to everyone rolling their sleeves up and going to Walgreens and getting this handled. And then, some of that is actually the fact that there has to be a level of trust in the government. There has to be a level of trust that has been violated. And
Right.
it's going to, as you and I both know, the years that we've lived, the one thing that's extremely difficult to get back is trust.
Yeah.
Once it's violated, once it's broken, it's hard to get that back. So I'm not even sure that we can project when people will feel comfortable. I was watching on CNN the other day a story of regarding the vaccinations and getting them into these black and brown neighborhoods and how there's no system yet in place to get them. I think Loretto Hospital here in Chicago is the first what you would consider neighborhood hospital in an African American neighborhood. They are the first hospital to have it. But there's a lack of continuity in terms of which hospitals are going to get it, how it's going to be distributed. Are you going to be able to go to Walgreens or CVS? And there's just a lot of confusion. So it's really hard to predict when this will be something that's viable. And then you've had some reactions. People with allergies have had reactions to this. Now, my mother puts it a different way. When I reference my mother a lot because to me she's the smartest person on the planet. My mother always knew somehow when I was lying. Somehow, without a lie detector, she could always tell that I was lying. So to this day, I ask her things, and she was saying that almost every vaccine has some type of side effect. They ask you, do you have an allergy to this?
Right.
They ask you questions. They don't just give
Shellfish, all of
you.
that. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
they ask you. So, the responses and the reactions that we're getting are probably just going to be par for the course. And as you and I have discussed before, what we're hoping is if you have pre-existing conditions, it doesn't affect us too adversely at the end of the day, because there is
Right.
no perfect vaccine. There is no perfect. And at this point, the United States, if we've shown anything, we are way less than perfect. We are far from perfect, and we have a long way to go.
Yes, you're right. Yes, I agree with you on that. All right. So the biggest international story of 2020, do you know what it was, Kevin?
I don't know. Would it be the Royals? Would it
It
be
would
Brit?
be the
See, I'm
biggest
pretty
international story of the year would be the fact that last year this time, Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, announced that they were sick and tired of being royals, did not want to be royals anymore. They announced it via Instagram that they were leaving the British monarchy, as they would say, or we would say. They ended up going to Canada as their place of where they would live. Well, they
Hmm.
now reside in Santa Barbara, California. They're one of Oprah's neighbors. And so they decided to tell the queen, bye bye, we're done. We don't want any of this anymore. And they have now moved on to a normal life because Harry was born into royalty. It was, that he was supposed to follow all of the rules and the guidelines. And he met this lovely young lady, and they decided that they wanted to be regular, everyday people. And they are now living their life doing the doggone thing. And I thought it was a smart move. I mean, because here's the deal, they would never become king and queen. They would be what, number 88, 99 in line for the throne. So why
Yeah,
not move on and do what you need to do? They're making good money now. They have a beautiful home. They're living their life, and that's it. But that was the biggest international news story of 2020. And it actually happened the end of 2019, but it escalated
right,
and moved more into 2020.
right. And then of course there's also the fact that she was biracial,
Right.
and there were certain elements of that particular uh, uh, state of affairs that caused some controversy as well. She felt she felt there were elements of racism that were being exhibited at the time, and again, here we are back to that. It just keeps coming back around. Racism. It just keeps coming back around, and until we deal with that, it's going to permeate all areas of our culture and a global culture. You know, I think that George Floyd raised an awareness of that globally. It wasn't just in the United States. We saw
That's
protests
what we
all.
need to talk about. Yes, next. Yes.
Yeah, so I think that if we do not deal with the issue of race, we're going to start seeing some real problems within a lot of these hierarchies in other countries, and especially here in the United States. The United States has now been shown globally that it has a real issue. Police brutality and mismanagement is now a regular subject that
Yes.
needs to be addressed. And um, if we don't get that under control, we're going to really have some major issues here in this country, because the next generation that's coming up, they are black, they're white, they're Asian, they're Latino, and they're very aware of this disparity, and they will deal with it directly, as we've seen in the protests and things of that nature.
Yes. Well, everything from Breonna Taylor to George Floyd, to Ahmaud Arbery, to you name it, we have seen cases this year that have just pointed the finger, and racism has reared its ugly head in just so many different ways. And I think George Floyd is what really turned the tide. We have a situation right now in Columbus, Ohio, where the police shot a man just within the last 7 days. And now, we're seeing more and more of these type of stories of,
Hmm.
racial tension, police brutality. The young lady here in Chicago, the social worker who was in her home, Miss Young, police come in, 12 officers stand there while this woman is naked. She's coming in, changing clothes. Next thing you know, her place is raided. This will probably be something that we will be talking about well into 2022, Kevin.
Mm. And what's interesting is, one of the things that I looked at this year was the fact that a lot of people aren't aware of this. Every police department has a budget for misconduct
Yes,
payout.
right.
Every state has a budget, and they pay millions each year. And can you guess which state has paid the most?
Oh, I'm sure the state of Illinois.
That would be Illinois. We
Isn't
lead
that
with
sad?
we lead with payouts for police misconduct. And that in and of itself says a lot. That says A, that you're expecting it to happen, and B, that it is continuing to happen. That really says a lot. And that's why when you hear things like defund the police, why that scares the status quo so much, because the police have gone from really the actual description of the job description of their duty, which is to protect and serve, to enforcement, more enforcement. And then when you pair that with the fact that black and brown people of black and brown descent make up 73% of your prison populations, those aren't great numbers
No,
by any
no.
stretch of the imagination.
Yes, no, I agree with you 100%. All right. Well, Kevin, is there anything else that we need to recap and cover that has happened in 2020?
I think that's really it, man. I think one of the things that I think we should look at, I think a lot of what you and I talked about is as real as it was, and as much of a downer as some of it may seem. I think one of the more positive things we saw that utilizing technology is going to be a way to bypass and to grow and to learn and things of that nature. We saw, with Instagram and the versus battles, we got back to really being able to look at
Yep.
music in a different way and look at the history of music in a different way. And
Shout out to Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight for being the
yeah,
queens of the battle. That's right.
right.
DJ D Nice. Yes.
And the kings of it would have been, I mean, in my opinion, my two favorite producers of all time, and that's Teddy Riley and Babyface. So I got to shout
Yeah.
them out for theirs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had an opportunity to see that there will be ways to do things. I have to be honest and say that to be able to watch a movie streamed, I didn't have to worry about parking. I didn't have
No.
to worry about expensive ass popcorn because I
No.
went right here to the dollar store and got me. You know how you get the three packets in one thing for $1. You get the 3 packs in a box. I had that. I had my own. I had my dollar pop, and I saved a ton of money with that. Had I had a date, the whole thing would have cost me about $11-12 total, including the movie. So I think we're seeing a different way for things to happen, a different way that things are going to happen, a different way, different options and different opportunities. So let's try to keep a positive slant on as much of this as we can. Yes, it is tough. I
Yeah.
know, man. I've been, I can be transparent here with you on this show and with our viewers. I've gone through depression, I've gone through anger, I've gone through disorientation. I go to sleep, it's dark, I wake up, it's dark. And all of these things are difficult, but they all go towards strengthening us and strengthening me as a person, and really taking the opportunity to think and grow and not take things for granted. My business has done great this year.
Uh-oh. You went out again. Are you there? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh,
Hello?
am
You
I
back
good?
now. All we heard was grow. We heard grow and think as a person. That's what we heard.
Okay, yeah. Oh, well, then you didn't lose too much. There was
No.
I think was a real opportunity for me personally to really take a good look at myself and my environment and my goals, my business, and that's what I'm hoping everyone does. And yes, again, I can't reiterate how much I understand how difficult it is. I experience it right along with everyone. But we want to come out of this on the other side. We just want to come out better people. We need to come out a better nation. We need to come out a better planet. We need to come out as better people on the other side of this.
I agree. That's a great way to look at all of that as we enter into 2021. A couple of things that I want to leave you guys with is be you. Unapologetically be you. That's most important. We are now at where we have all had to learn to pivot. This pivot has been something that everybody has had to learn from and take something away from it. So be you unapologetically. Make self-care your number one priority, not a privilege, but self-care is the most important thing that you can do to stay safe, to stay healthy, and continue to move forward. Never stop learning. Whatever it is that you want to learn and do, everything can be learned online now, and it's no problems with learning to learn. A lot of people are constant learners. That's a good thing. If you've not been in school in a while, or not picked up a new trade or a new gift, it's never too late to learn to do that. Be consistent in everything that you do. That's why I continue to do this show every night, and
Yep.
create something that you look forward to that will help with your depression, anxiety, any of those things that happen. Create something that you look forward to. I love doing this show every night. I appreciate all of my guests who come on, and they enjoy hanging out and doing this show. And that's about being consistent and looking forward to doing things that we love to do. Yes.
Absolutely. I think for something else too to remember is when you stop learning, you stop living. And YouTube is amazing. You can go. Do you know that you can go on YouTube and find anything? You can
Oh,
find out how to
absolutely.
do. You can find out who did. I mean, there is a YouTube video for everything, and it's just
Yes.
amazing. Between Google and YouTube, there's no excuse for ignorance. You
No,
have an
not at
opportunity
all.
to be able to really access these things, and help in your daily life, and help make us regular. Help make us better people. We have the tools at our disposal. We need to start using those. And I
Yes.
was just fascinated by it. I found anything on YouTube that I needed. If I needed to find out how to fix something around the house, to when what were the names of the first slaves that arrived in the New World, to just all of those things, man. And I think we should really, we've moved away from the basics. I think
Right.
we've moved away from basic morals, values. We've moved away from the basics of education and learning. We've moved away from tolerance. We've moved away from a lot of things we were moving in the direction of, and then we got distracted by the world. We got distracted by sports. We got distracted by uh, um, capitalism and money, and we got distracted by a lot of things. Capitalism is not a positive thing, and
No.
I'm here to say that unequivocally. I don't care
Mhm.
whether you need a job to do. The fact that you have to even say I need a job, any need like that you're depending on the world to give you, is not positive. And
Right.
so we need to start moving back in the direction of learning, and we need to start moving back in the direction of tolerance and educating ourselves and learning about the people next to us, and stop feeding into these false narratives, and all of these false projections of people and interpretations of people. And I just think those are things that this I'm hoping that this taught us.
Yes.
But unfortunately, when I go to, what the best uh, 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 atmosphere and environment is to test stuff is the grocery store. All you got to do is go to the grocery store. The way you interact with people, people's faces, people's patience. The grocery store is like the greatest laboratory on the planet, because you go to the grocery store and you can tell where people are. I used to go to the grocery store, and we would be in line with each other, talking to each other, tell jokes. And now people don't know what's going on under your mask.
No,
Now
no.
we're supposed to be taught to talk with our eyes and all of that stuff. We're really being taken back to the basics here. And I'm hoping that people really, I'm hoping that we as a people and as a culture, a global community, really see that this has happened for a reason. And we're
Hmm.
where we are for a reason. We need to get better about some things, and not at our pace, not when we feel like it. We need to
That's
kind
right.
of come on and do it.
That's right. I agree. All right, Kevin. Well, with that being said, I think you delivered a great message. That was good. Anything else in closing you want to say to everybody before we skedoodle? This is our last show of 2020. I'll be back in the new year. Want you guys to all have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. James said, good review of infamous year, but COVID-19 vaccine for it takes first place, gentlemen, black or white, mostly black. Yeah, COVID
Agreed.
was the number one thing this year. We just thought we would add some other things in there just to jar everybody's memory and to reflect just a little bit. But COVID-19 has taken precedence over every and all things that we've talked about this year. We want to remind everybody to be safe. What else,
And
Kevin?
and as my mother told me last night, do your research, do your due diligence. Don't go off of hearsay. Don't go off of just one source. Let's get back to really educating ourselves and being patient. And that's
Hmm.
vital that we do that. I think
Hmm.
we become a one listen people, meaning
Yeah.
the first thing we hear is the first thing we respond to. It's the first thing we go with. Let's not do that. Let's take the time. Let's watch what we post. Let's not take the first thing that comes to our mind and roll with it, and we can go from there. You know what I mean? That's kind of the one thing I wanted to, among others, I wanted to kind of throw out there as well, man.
Mm. Well, everybody's saying that we did an outstanding job tonight. Kevin, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna need a drink after this show tonight. This has brought up so many emotions and memories, and I'm like, oh my God, 2020 was really a very heavy year, in many
It
ways.
was, it
Yeah,
was. But again, if we can come out of it better, then it's all worth it at the end of the day. It may not feel like it now. Thank all of you who watched us tonight. Really appreciate you guys. Please don't forget to like and share. Please don't forget to tell your friends that you saw something great here, courtesy of Art Sims. I say it every time I'm on. I'm honored. I mean, I'm just honored to be here, man. I'm honored to sit on the other side of a screen with a legend like yourself, a mainstay here in Chicago. It's a real honor for me. But people, if you're watching now and you're still tuned in, please share this video. If you're on Facebook, please hit share, hit like, let us know.
yeah,
And another thing, send. We go through this big preparation process, but we want y'all to send us stuff. Hey, if there's something
yes,
you want to talk about, send it in. Send a note.
absolutely.
Something like that. This is for the people. This is for the
Yes,
culture.
this is.
That's what. So I know you're going to allow me to do it. So I'll just go ahead and beat it to the punch. You guys can find me at K Ross Chicago, KROSSCHICAGO on Instagram, and my company, which is a brand specific marketing and event marketing boutique agency, is called the Two Guard Group. That's TWOGUARD GROUP. You can find me at Two Guard TWOGUARD Media on Instagram. Last shameless plug. Next year, I will be launching my t-shirt company, and I will be doing specific designs. What you see here, you see Chardette, you see Chard. Wait, you see. Wait, how do I do it?
I see Lauren Hill, right?
Yes, sir.
I
Go
see
ahead, brother.
Sade. I see
Okay,
Erica Badu, and I
right,
see
and
Jill Scott. Right.
man, see, that's why you are a legend. I didn't think that anyone could guess all four.
No,
So this is my Divas of Neo Soul T-shirt that will be available in January. I will be placing those on sale. They are exclusive items, so I'm not going to print up 100 of them. And you guys will be seeing those. And I have some other great designs that I've been working on for like 5 years. And so during this pandemic, I just decided that leap of faith that you talked about earlier. I'm going to take it and I'm going to add T-shirts to part of the company. So
I love it. I think it's great. It's a beautiful idea. Stand up again so we can see that t-shirt. Sade, Lauren Hill, Erica Badu, and Jill Scott. Four of my favorites, all on one t-shirt. I'll take a
Yep,
t-shirt, brother. I will. I love
I
all of
got
those
you. I'm
ladies.
gonna make sure you good.
All of those ladies have helped me in many different ways. They have. So I
They've been,
love that
they've been,
t-shirt.
they've been extremely impactful. They've moved music forward. They've moved the culture forward. I think Sade is the queen, one of the originators of quote unquote jazz, soul, neo soul, and so I just kind of I'll be paying tribute to a lot of other cultural icons, comedy, R&B, great black films, great TV shows. One of the reasons I decided to start to create these is I used to make them. I make them for myself because African American media doesn't get promoted. There's no marketing budget. There's no, so you
Right.
don't ever see these things unless we create them. And I've had shirts from shows like New York Undercover, Martin, Living Single. I think Girlfriends is a fantastic show that women don't have shirts for. So I've designed a line for girlfriends and things like that, man. So we gonna make it happen.
All right, very good. Well, on behalf of my co-host this evening, the amazing Mr. Kevin Ross, Two Guard Group, he is the man. I appreciate him being here tonight. We hope you guys have enjoyed the year in review. 2020 has been a year like no other. We've had a lot of just things, a lot of stuff going on, but we do want to remind everyone that we are in the midst of a global pandemic. We want to remind everyone to please be safe, do the right things, wear your mask. It does not cost you a lot to wear a mask. We just talked about today, you can get a mask as cheap as 39 cents all the way up to several $100s, depending
Yes,
on your budget, who you are, all of that great stuff.
beauty, beauty
I even
supply.
have
Go
my
to the
chat
beauty
daddy
supply.
mask.
Get them for $5.
Yay. Chat Daddy Mask. Try to support a black-owned beauty supply place if you all can.
Absolutely.
That would be really great. All right, we want to wish you guys a happy new year. The next time I see you all, God willing, it will be 2021. It'll be time for us to turn that clock and do something different. Turn that calendar, turn that page. I have a lot of great shows coming up in 2021 for you all. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Kevin, you are amazing, my friend. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And thank you for the invitation to come on. Anytime you need me, I'm here. One last thing before we go, and you brought up
Sure.
something really good. One of the reasons that we struggled in Chicago with our COVID numbers were gatherings during the holidays. I know it's going to be hard to resist going to a New Year's Eve party. I understand that. No one knows better than I do being in entertainment. However, those numbers are going to continue to rise if we do not limit our gatherings of people, guys. Please limit yourself to being at home, limit yourself to Zoom parties and things of that nature. The small gatherings are what are driving these numbers. It's not big gatherings, it's the small ones. It's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, it's New Year's. So if we're ever going to get this under control, please, guys, let's exercise some delayed gratification here so that next year can be better than this year.
Kevin, I'm glad you brought that up because I noticed several DJs here in the Chicagoland area that are promoting New Year's Eve parties at venues in the suburbs. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like that just
Why
shows
we're
me
why we
the
can't
level of ignorance of these DJs and these party promoters. Like you got to be kidding me. Why in the hell would you be promoting a New Year's Eve party that you want people to come to? And then here's the deal, not saying anything about please wear a mask, bring a mask, any of that. And these guys are out here actually promoting New Year's Eve parties.
one party about a week and a half ago that got shut down by the city was charging $100 per person. There were 200 people on site. Not one
God,
person was
no.
wearing a mask when they entered the facility. Guys, this is going to continue to go on. And guess what? You're not going to beat it. We're not going to beat it. We don't beat the virus. The virus has shown us that the virus is in control. The one thing that we can control is ourselves and our behaviors. If we do not get this under control, we're going to be sitting here in June having this same conversation. We really will. And no vaccine
Mhm.
is going to be an instant fix. I know everyone thinks that the vaccines are here and everything's going to be great, shortly. That's not the case at all. This vaccine rollout, we're looking at another year, literally, before any of this starts to take effect.
Right.
So please, these mitigation efforts are vital. I would love to go out for New Year's. I got a nice sparkly gold jacket that I still haven't never worn, that I ordered once upon a time, and it's my Morris Day jacket. But guess what? I'm going to be sitting right at this square that you see here at somebody's Zoom party, and that's where I'm at, and I'm good with that, and I'm hoping that you will be good with that too, because it's not just about you, it's about the people around you.
Keisha Shaver said it best. That would be the last party you go to.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what we go to.
Ultimate TV. Shout out to my girl at Ultimate TV. I love you. Club
Hey,
COVID is
that's
alive
my
and
girl.
killing. It really is. It really. I mean, if nothing else, we've got to look at the famed basketball coach right here in Chicago, Coach Donnie Kirksey, who again battling COVID for 2 weeks, and he succumbed to COVID today. So you guys, I'm just telling you,
Hey,
this is
hey,
no
hey, hey.
joke, and that man touched a lot of people's lives, huh?
Darth Vader was 6'7". David Prowse, he passed away 2 weeks ago. He was six
Charlie
seven
Pride, yes,
weightlifter, 6'7" weightlifter in great shape. He was dead in 2 weeks
right.
from COVID.
We have to look at Uncle Herman. Was it Herman Cain?
Yep.
He died, from just going to the Republican event, and next thing we know, he contracted COVID. So I don't know. I'm gonna stay as safe as I can, stay out of harm's way, and do things in my own little bubble, in my own little people, and just call it what it is. But be careful, you guys, with these New Year's Eve parties. But I've seen several DJs promote actual parties and tickets and limited and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You that damn thirsty that you would host an event New Year's Eve and want people to come out and participate in it. And here's the deal: it's a lot of thirsty ass people that want to get out and party New Year's Eve. I know it's not gonna happen.
Well, again, our inability to delay gratification as a culture and as people has led to our downfall in many areas, and has led to our weaknesses in many areas. We cannot delay our gratification, not even for a moment, and that's a real problem. That's a discipline problem. It's a maturity problem. And again, if we don't get that under control, it is Auntie Lightfoot, Mama Light. She ain't gonna stop. She ain't gonna stop with none of that. They are fining people. They are citing people. They are shutting down parties. They have people who are undercover to discover who's giving these parties, and they show up at these things. So if you
Mhm.
don't want any of those issues, man, we got to stick with the program. I know it's tough.
And what is this with everybody going to the suburbs to do this now? I thought the entire state of Illinois was on lockdown as far as
Well,
restaurants and places having things.
each suburb has its own governing bodies, right? So
Oh,
in the beginning, one county was able to, let's say, they wanted churches open. They could file a couple of them filed lawsuits against the state of Illinois because they are separate counties. You have your own set of judges, you have your own set of courts, you have your own district attorneys in these areas. And the numbers in the suburbs actually are numbers that were going down, and the urban numbers closer to the city were going up. So but there's a lot less policing in the suburban areas. And another problem is that law enforcement in the suburban areas, they said they weren't going to enforce these rules. They said that some of the law enforcement said they weren't going to issue citations. They weren't going to institute any of the restrictive measures. I mean, you've had actual sheriff's department officials say they're not going to do it. So again, it goes back to not being all on the same accord. And we just keep doing this. And when we keep doing this, we'll never have the type of balance and containment that we need.
well, I'm gonna say it and I'm gonna say it again. All you thirsty ass DJs that want to host physical parties New Year's Eve,
And grown
shame on you.
people who are
Shame
40,
on you. Shame
50,
on you.
on all you grown people, we've been to as many parties as we can stand in our 50-year-old lives. If you don't get to go out and hang out at a party for a few months, it's not going to kill you.
No, it's not. And I'm looking at this younger demographic as well, too. Stay your ass in the house. It's that easy. It's that simple. All of you all had on these damn matching pajamas for Christmas, then have matching at home outfits for New Year's Eve. That's all
That's
I'm going
it.
to say on that. That's right. All right.
That's it.
Well, on behalf of the amazing Mr. Kevin Ross and yours truly, Art Chat Daddy Sims, thank you guys so very much for hanging out with me this year. This has been a new venture and journey for me with the online digital media show. It's been a lot of fun. Believe it or not, Kevin, we have over 109 shows in the can of the Real
Right.
Chat Daddy show. Isn't that great? So thank
That
you
is
guys for all of your support. Do me a favor, go over to YouTube and subscribe to the Real Chat Daddy show. Easy and simple. It's free. Helps us to build the audience of the show. Same way with Facebook, the Real Chat Daddy Show. Easy, simple. Just like it, subscribe. That's all you have to do. For more information about yours truly, you can visit therealchatdaddy.com, therealchatdaddy.com. Thank you guys so much for your support. I look forward to seeing you guys in 2021. 2021. That's a beautiful time. It really is. You okay, Kevin?
absolutely.
All right. Looked like you had a
That
text
is.
message that was killing you there for a minute.
No, I couldn't have said it better myself. You covered it beautifully.
All right. Well, we're out of here. Good night, you guys. Happy New Year. God bless. I'll see you in 2021. Be safe, my friends. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do. I don't know about that. Stay safe. Wear your mask, wear your gloves, stay out of trouble. We're out of here. Good night.